Now for the web server, Apache, PHP and MySQL, which is the lamp stack. You might want to be stopping and starting, pausing your screen every time I type in a command so that you can write it down or type it in yourself. I'm going to search for Apache just to show you that command again. apt-cache search Apache 2, and you'll see that it's just simply Apache 2 in this case. But I want to make sure everything is installed just to make sure it's easy as a student environment. So apt, it'll be apt get install Apache 2 ** that we type in just to get all of those things. Well, obviously after an update just to make sure it's fully up to date. apt-get install Apache 2 **. Give me everything. Press yes to continue. Takes a little while. So what I'll be showing you are different ways to restart Apache, some configuration options. I'm going to be showing you how to configure your user directory. I'm not really focusing on search engine friendly URLs. I'm just going to focus on allowing you to write your web pages in your home directory rather than going to Apache's default. So that's done. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is installing MySQL once I've shown you that Apache is running using ps-cf pipe grep Apache 2. You might want to make a note of these commands because they're very useful. So this is the local host on Firefox. We'll now have the web page because it should be running in the web server. Read that and that will tell you where to go to find the default web server's web page. So the next thing to install is the MySQL server, which I happen to know already the name of. apt-get install MySQL server. If you can hear that, that's my dog in the background. And here you need to you type in the user name. So I've put USBW and tab to OK, USBW tabbed to OK. So you need to use the keyboard when you have an interface like that, and you need to use the tab key to move around. And that's now installing MySQL server. Oh, you get used to these commands. It's relatively straightforward, and I think it's a good idea to learn how to do the manual way rather than using wizard tools. You can download a lamp stack with a wizard install, but I think you learn a lot more by doing things manually. You said that will have installed the MySQL server, but you won't really be able to find out much about that. Now, it isn't going to be MySQL server in the process group, as you'll see. It is actually going to be MySQL daemon, but I just thought I would show you that. So that's now running. Once you've installed them, they start them up automatically and run them. So I'm going to do MySQL secure installation using the command as shown, and that's going to ask me first of all to enter my current MySQL root, and then it's going to ask me what type of permission level I want or password level. I'm going to choose 0 for low, but obviously on a real system you would want to choose a much higher. I'm then going to change the password because I have to, and put in USBW, which won't be very strong, but there you go, 50% strength. And yes, I wish to continue. Yes, remove anonymous users. Yes, disallow root login remotely. So you need a user for that instead. And tidy up the system. And that's all done. So now we have MySQL secured. So all the PHP commands printed using less. I want to make sure I get as much as I need as a developer. So I'm going to install PHP-all-dev rather than just PHP on its own. And that should give me many of the development packages required as a developer. So PHP-all-dev, and then I will also include some additional packages just to make sure that they're on there. I'll put encrypt on shortly for password encryption, and I'll put MySQL on there as well to give me the MySQL drivers that go between PHP and the database. Again, you might want to look up on how to do this for your specific environment on the installation for PHP onto a Linux environment. The libapache mod, which puts PHP into Apache. And then a couple of other things as said. So the encrypt, and the next thing will be the MySQL package for PHP. These are all very quick. You may not know exactly which ones you need, but as you start developing, you'll start to learn which packages you need. So I'm now going to go in and just check that everything is okay. In my module area, modules enabled, going to set PHP as my default file when my web server is navigated to. So index.php will be the default for my web server, and it's currently in about 5th place. Now that's all done, what I would want to do is restart. So I'll restart Apache web server to take into consideration all that new configuration, all those new configuration options. So systemctl can be used for different services, and restarting Apache too can be used for others as well. It just depends which one you remember. I'm using ps-ef, searching the output for Apache. There you'll see a number of processes. If you're not sure what all of that means, then go to my processes video. I'm now going to the default area for the Apache web server, which is var www.html. You'll be able to see that in the configuration file. I'm making a script, PHP script, just to test the configuration that I've just installed, and that's just going to be PHP info function, a built-in function, and I'm using the quotes to make it a string, which I'm going to filter out into the file info.php. There it is, and you'll see when I more that the file exists. So that file can now be navigated to. And as you can see, the configuration for my PHP, you can't keep this on your system, on a live system. That wouldn't be very secure. You're giving away too much information. So I would remove that now, or give it a new name and store it somewhere else. If you don't want to keep typing it in, that is. So we've set up Apache. Now I want to host user web pages. I flashed that slide quickly, sorry. I'm using Apache to enable the modification of user directories. So to be able to use user directories, A2N mod user directory. So that's enabling that module. So restart Apache again because I've just changed the configuration. Again, you might want to stop and write these down. I'm now going into the directory mods enabled to enable me to alter the user directory, which is where you will find the commands for enabling access to various things like get and post, which get and post are used for websites when you submit a form. What I'm going to do is actually put in an error in there just to show you that when I restart the system with an error, that you will be informed about it. So I'm going to just copy and paste an error in there. That's a typical configuration option you may find when you navigate the web for how to configure user directories. I will obviously take that out in a moment, and this is another handy command for you to find out where Apache 2 is if you have a problem. Okay, so to actually check the status of our Apache that's been broken, we need to restart it broken. So you can see it's failed, and there's an error code, but we can use the command now to look at the status of Apache 2. So systemctl allows you to do all kinds of things. This is now telling me that it's on line 10. I know which file I've just altered, so it's on that file. If I widened it, I'd get all of the information. I can't see it all, but I know which one it is. I'm now going to go back and fix that and show you that it won't fail to start next time. So I'm going to edit the user directory.conf file again and fix the problem by putting in what it really should be to allow get and post forms from forms. So I'll just fix that really quickly. I'll delete that line and change it to what it should be. So it should just be require all granted. And now I will restart, or I'll check the status, but that's still failed because I haven't restarted. So remember to restart when you change Apache configuration files, and then check the status, and you'll see all is okay. So what we need to do now is just test that we can use the student directory, for example. I mean, there's nothing to do in there, but just to let you see, and now you can see it's working. I just opened that quickly. The next thing you need to do is install PHP MyAdmin using the standard method that I've been showing you. I'm going to scroll down the output because I've already done this for no reason, and once you have finished installing it, you should find you have yourself a web development environment to work with. I'll just let you see the rest of that. And you want to check the MySQL port value so that you can do some web development. You can now make a script. We're going to use testdb.php, and we're going to use the PDO, so for database connectivity. You might want to look that up and follow a tutorial. We're using a try block to make a new connection using the variable $db to store the details, and remember port 3306, and the host is localhost, and the database name will be smonitor with the password of USB, not the best, but it's just an example. And we have a catch block to catch any errors. If there was an error, then set db equal to -1 and set an error message to a particular string, which is based on the message that occurred during the error. So that's making a connection. Not the best way to make a connection, but it is only a test script. And the next thing we need to do is query a table and just output the data onto the screen. That'll also be done in a try catch block. So I'm going to make the query, which is select star from sensors. Just test it out first, write the code first. Run the query, so execute the query. Fetch all the data using an associative array to store into the results variable. And then check if there's any results. So I need to just first of all put it into a try catch block before I run it. With the catch block, I'll just copy that from there. It's exactly the same. The error message will be context sensitive, so it depends on what happened. So if a query was being performed, then the error message will relate to the query. So with that script in place, we can now go to the browser and run that script to test it out. Obviously need to save it first, then go back to Firefox, which is already open. I've already pre-prepared the database to save time. You need to have your connection string like this. When there are errors, there is another error on there, which you'll see in a moment. So I've got all of the messages printed out now, a bit messy. I didn't put any new lines or breaks on the HTML. And that's going to be a bit messy as well because I haven't put any breakpoints. So now you can see it's connected to the database and obtain the data. The data is a very simple sensor table that just has some basic two rows of data. And I'm just putting some paragraph blocks on there. So it's an extremely simple database. So that's an example of the web server working. You now have a web development machine, and I hope that helps you, and good luck.